Imagine discovering that a coin worth just 2 pence has been sitting unnoticed for years, while collectors keep searching for the very same dates. Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today's countdown features 3 United Kingdom 2 New Pence coins that continue to fascinate collectors. 1971 2 New Pence, no mint mark. 2004 2 Pence, no mint mark. 1996 2 Pence, no mint mark. Made from bronze, and featuring the historic Prince of Wales's feathers reverse design, these coins have been part of everyday life for decades. Yet collectors still inspect them for rare varieties, minting errors, and unusual characteristics that can make certain examples especially desirable. The most surprising part? Some of these details are so subtle that thousands of people spend these coins without ever noticing them. Don't skip the final coin. It's the one that catches many collectors completely by surprise. Now, let's uncover coin number 1. There are moments in coin collecting when history doesn't announce itself with gold or silver. Instead, it quietly hides inside an ordinary bronze coin that millions of people have handled without ever stopping to ask why it exists. It sits in old biscuit tins, forgotten piggy banks, dusty drawers, and family collections, waiting for someone curious enough to look beyond its worn surface. Today's journey begins with one of Britain's most historic circulation coins, the 1971 2 New Pence. At first glance, there's nothing extraordinary about it. The bronze surface may be dark from decades of circulation. Tiny scratches cover both sides. The rim shows the signs of countless transactions, and the once sharp details have gradually softened after years of passing through shops, markets, buses, and post offices across the United Kingdom. To most people, it's simply an old 2-pence coin. To collectors, however, it's something far more important. The year 1971 forever changed British coinage. On February 15, 1971, the United Kingdom officially adopted decimal currency, replacing the centuries-old pounds, shillings, and pence system with the modern decimal structure still used today. It became known as Decimal Day, one of the biggest financial transitions in British history. Millions of people had to learn an entirely new way of counting money almost overnight. To support this enormous change, the Royal Mint produced an entirely new family of coins, including the brand new 2 New Pence. Every purchase made during those early days of decimalization introduced Britons to a completely different monetary system, making the 1971 issue more than just another circulating coin. It became a symbol of one of the most significant economic changes in modern British history. Unlike many world coins, the 1971 2 New Pence carries no mint mark, which is completely normal for standard circulation issues produced by the Royal Mint. For collectors, the absence of a mint mark isn't unusual. It simply reflects the way these coins were manufactured during that period. The obverse features the youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, created by the renowned sculptor Arnold Machin. Surrounding the portrait are the inscriptions Elizabeth II, DG Reg FD, reminding every holder of Britain's long royal tradition that stretched across generations. Turn the coin over, and another unmistakable national symbol appears. The reverse displays the magnificent badge of the Prince of Wales, designed by Christopher Ironside. 3 elegant feathers rise beneath a royal coronet, while a flowing ribbon carries the famous German motto, "Ich dien," meaning, "I serve." Beneath the design appear the words New Pence, a phrase used only during the early years of decimal currency before later coins simply read 2 pence. That single design detail makes these early issues instantly recognizable. The coin itself was struck from a durable bronze composition, containing approximately 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. The rich bronze color gave the new decimal coins a distinctive appearance, while providing enough strength to survive years of everyday circulation. As decades passed, most surviving examples gradually lost their original reddish brilliance. Bronze naturally darkened with age. High points became smooth. Contact marks multiplied. Dirt settled into the lettering, while thousands of small scratches quietly recorded the journey of each individual coin through Britain's economy. Yet seasoned collectors rarely judge a coin by appearance alone. Instead, they carefully examine every detail under magnification. The Queen's portrait, the lettering, the rim, the spacing between the feathers, the ribbon, the date. Every tiny element is inspected in search of authenticated double dies, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other genuine mint-made varieties that may have occurred during production at the Royal Mint. Most coins reveal nothing unusual. And that's exactly what makes the search so addictive. Because every ordinary-looking 1971 Two New Pence carries the possibility, however small, that one overlooked detail could transform an everyday circulation coin into a fascinating collectible worthy of much closer attention. Not every collectible coin announces itself the moment you see it. Sometimes, the difference between an ordinary coin and an interesting collector's piece is so small that it can only be noticed after several careful minutes under proper lighting and magnification. That quiet mystery is exactly why the 1971 Two New Pence continues to fascinate collectors more than half a century after Decimal Day. Every coin struck at the Royal Mint followed the same basic journey. A bronze blank, known as a planchet, was prepared to exact specifications before being fed into powerful coining presses. In a split second, immense pressure transferred every detail of the dies onto the metal, creating thousands of identical coins every hour. It was an incredibly precise process. But no minting operation is completely free from natural production variations. As working dies struck millions of coins, they gradually experienced normal wear. Tiny imperfections could develop over time, and although most were minor, they remain a point of interest for collectors studying Britain's decimal coinage today. This is why experienced numismatists examine far more than the date. They carefully inspect the Queen's portrait, checking the facial details, lettering, and the spaces between the inscriptions. Their attention then moves to the reverse, where the elegant prints of Wales's feathers, the royal coronet, the flowing ribbon, and the words New Pence are studied with equal care. Collectors also look for authenticated double dies, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, clipped planchets, off-center strikes, and other genuine mint-made varieties. While these characteristics are uncommon, professionally authenticated examples naturally receive far greater attention than ordinary circulation coins. The bronze composition adds another fascinating chapter to the story. Unlike modern plated coins, the 1971 Two New Pence was struck from solid bronze. Over the decades, exposure to air, moisture, and daily handling gradually changed the color of many surviving examples. Some developed deep chocolate brown surfaces, while others retained traces of their original reddish appearance. Every coin aged differently, giving each piece its own unique character. Condition also plays a significant role. Most 1971 Two New Pence coins found today show flattened high points, countless contact marks, worn lettering, and softened details after decades of circulation throughout the United Kingdom. These are completely normal signs of use, and should not be confused with mint-made varieties. Occasionally, however, a collector discovers a coin with unusually sharp details, attractive original surfaces, or a feature that appears different from ordinary examples. When that happens, professional grading and authentication become essential. Specialists determine whether the unusual characteristic originated during the minting process or resulted from damage after the coin entered circulation. That distinction makes all the difference. It is also important to remember that most heavily circulated 1971 Two New Pence coins are common circulation issues, and are generally worth only their face value. Higher collector premiums are typically associated with professionally authenticated mint errors, recognized die varieties, or exceptional high-grade examples with outstanding preservation. Perhaps that is why the 1971 Two New Pence remains such an important coin in British numismatics. It wasn't simply the first year of a new denomination. It represented the beginning of an entirely new monetary system, a moment when an entire nation learned to count its money differently. Every worn example that survives today is a small piece of that remarkable transition, carrying with it the history of one of the biggest changes ever made to Britain's currency. Some coins become part of everyday life so quickly that people stop noticing them altogether. They sit in cash drawers, disappear into supermarket change, and spend years moving from one pocket to another without anyone giving them a second glance. The 2004 United Kingdom 2 pence is one of those coins. At first, there's nothing about it that seems extraordinary. Its bronze surface may be darkened from years of circulation. Fine scratches cover both sides, the edges show signs of constant handling, and the once sharp details have softened after countless transactions. To most people, it's simply another 2p coin. But coin collectors often see something completely different. Instead of asking how much the coin can buy, they ask where it was struck, how well it was produced, whether it carries unusual mint characteristics, and what story it tells about British coinage during the early 21st century. The 2004 2 pence was produced by the Royal Mint as a standard circulation issue. Like other regular circulation coins of the period, it carries no mint mark, a completely normal feature for modern British decimal coinage. By 2004, the 2 pence coin had already become one of the most familiar denominations in the United Kingdom. It passed through supermarkets, railway stations, cafes, vending machines, and small businesses every single day. Millions of people handled these coins without ever imagining that decades later they would become part of Britain's modern numismatic history. The obverse features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Ian Rank Broadley. His portrait presents the Queen wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, offering a realistic and dignified representation that became one of the most recognizable royal portraits on British coins during the early 2000s. Turning the coin over reveals the famous badge of the Prince of Wales, originally created by Christopher Ironside. 3 elegant ostrich feathers rise beneath a royal coronet, while a flowing ribbon bears the historic motto, "Ich diene," meaning, "I serve." Beneath the design appears the denomination 2 pence, a wording adopted after the early New Pence issues were replaced. The 2004 2 pence was struck from a durable bronze composition, consisting primarily of copper with small amounts of zinc and tin. This alloy gave the coin its distinctive reddish-brown appearance, while allowing it to withstand years of heavy circulation. After 2 decades of everyday use, most surviving examples now display worn high points, contact marks, scratches, edge nicks, and darker bronze toning. These are natural signs of circulation and simply reflect the long working life of a coin that quietly served millions of people across the United Kingdom. Yet experienced collectors never stop with appearance alone. Using magnification, they carefully inspect the Queen's portrait, the lettering, the rim, the Prince of Wales's feathers, the royal coronet, the ribbon carrying Ich diene, and the denomination. They search for authenticated double dies, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other genuine mint-made varieties that may have occurred during production. Most 2004 2 pence coins prove to be perfectly ordinary circulation pieces. But every careful examination keeps alive the possibility that an overlooked detail could turn an everyday coin into a fascinating piece of Britain's modern minting history. If every coin could speak, the 2004 2 pence would probably tell thousands of different stories. It might remember buying a morning newspaper in London, paying for a cup of tea in Manchester, or disappearing into a child's piggy bank somewhere in Wales. Unlike commemorative coins that spend most of their lives inside albums, this bronze coin was created for one purpose: to circulate through everyday British life. That long journey is exactly what makes it so fascinating today. Every 2004 2 pence began inside the Royal Mint, where carefully prepared bronze planchets moved through high-speed coining presses. In a single powerful strike, the dies transferred every fine detail onto the metal, creating a coin designed to survive years of constant use. Although the minting process was remarkably accurate, millions of strikes naturally placed enormous pressure on the working dies. As those dies aged, tiny production characteristics occasionally appeared, details so small that most people would never notice them without magnification. This is where collectors began looking far beyond the date. Rather than asking whether the coin simply looks old, experienced numismatists carefully examine the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, the lettering surrounding the obverse, the rim, and every element of the reverse. The Prince of Wales's feathers, the royal coronet, the flowing ribbon bearing ICH dying, and the denomination 2 pence are all inspected under bright light for even the slightest production differences. Collectors also search for authenticated double dies, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other genuine mint-made varieties. These features are uncommon, but professionally authenticated examples naturally receive far greater collector attention than ordinary circulation pieces. Because the 2004 2 pence remained in active circulation for many years, most surviving examples now tell their own story through wear alone. The original reddish bronze color often becomes darker with age. Small contact marks appear across the fields. The highest points of the Queen's portrait gradually lose sharpness, while the feathers on the reverse become smoother after years of handling. These signs are completely expected. They are not flaws. They are simply evidence that the coin fulfilled the purpose for which it was created. Occasionally, however, collectors discover an example that stands apart from the rest. A coin with unusually sharp strike quality, attractive original surfaces, or an unusual production characteristic immediately deserves closer examination. At that point, professional grading and authentication become essential to determine whether the feature originated during the minting process or resulted from post-circulation damage. That distinction is what separates an interesting conversation piece from a verified numismatic variety. It is also important to remember that most heavily circulated 2004 United Kingdom 2 pence coins are common circulation issues, and are generally worth only their face value. Every collector eventually discovers that the coins people ignore the most often have the most interesting stories. They aren't locked away inside museum cases. They aren't displayed beneath bright lights at auctions. Instead, they spend years hidden inside forgotten wallets, kitchen drawers, old purses, and jars filled with everyday pocket change. Their surfaces become darker, their edges grow smoother, and little by little they blend into the background of ordinary life. That is exactly how the 1996 United Kingdom 2 pence earned its reputation. Unlike Britain's earliest decimal issues, the 1996 2 pence wasn't introduced during a major monetary change. By the mid-1990s, the decimal system had already become part of everyday British life. The 2 pence coin had become one of the country's most familiar denominations, quietly helping millions of transactions take place every single day. Because it was so common, almost nobody stopped to examine it. Collectors did. The 1996 2 pence was produced by the Royal Mint as a standard circulation issue. Like most British circulation coins of its time, it carries no mint mark, which is entirely normal and expected for this denomination. The obverse features the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Raphael Maklauf. His design presents the Queen wearing the George IV state diadem, creating one of the most recognizable royal portraits used on British coinage during the late 20th century. Around the portrait appear the traditional royal inscriptions that have long connected Britain's coins with its monarchy. Turning the coin over reveals one of the most enduring symbols in British heraldry. The reverse displays the badge of the Prince of Wales, created by Christopher Ironside. 3 graceful ostrich feathers rise beneath a royal coronet, while the ribbon below proudly carries the historic motto, "Ich diene," meaning, "I serve." Beneath the design appears the denomination 2 pence, completing a reverse that has become instantly recognizable throughout the United Kingdom. The 1996 2 pence was struck from a durable bronze composition, made primarily of copper, with small amounts of zinc and tin. This alloy provided both strength and the distinctive reddish-brown color that characterized British bronze coinage for generations. After nearly 3 decades of circulation, many surviving examples no longer resemble the bright coins that first left the Royal Mint. Their original brilliance has faded. Fine scratches cover the surfaces. Small contact marks interrupt the fields, while the highest points of the portrait and feathers gradually became smoother after years of handling. Yet experienced collectors know that where alone never tells the complete story. Using magnification, they carefully inspect the Queen's portrait, the lettering, the rim, the Prince of Wales's feathers, the coronet, the ribbon bearing Ich diene, and every detail of the reverse. They search for authenticated double dies, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other genuine mint-made varieties that may have developed during production. Most 1996 2 pence coins appear completely ordinary. But every careful inspection reminds collectors of an important truth. Sometimes, the most overlooked coin in your pocket is also the one that deserves the closest examination. The longer collectors study British coinage, the more they realize that rarity isn't always obvious. Sometimes, the real challenge isn't finding an old coin. It's recognizing an ordinary coin that deserves a second look. That is exactly why the 1996 United Kingdom 2 pence continues to appear in conversations among dedicated collectors today. Every coin begins its life inside the Royal Mint, where carefully prepared bronze planchets are transformed into circulating currency through enormous striking pressure. The process is designed for remarkable precision, yet no production system can create millions of coins without tiny natural variations appearing over time. As the working dies continued striking coin after coin, normal were gradually developed. Under the right conditions, extremely small production characteristics occasionally appeared. Most passed completely unnoticed by the public because the coins immediately entered circulation and began doing exactly what they were made to do: buying, selling, changing hands, year after year. For collectors, however, those decades of circulation only make the investigation more interesting. Instead of looking only at the date, experienced numismatists slowly examine every part of the coin beneath magnification. The portrait, the lettering, the rim, the royal coronet, the Prince of Wales's feathers, the ribbon carrying Ich diene. Even the smallest detail is carefully inspected in search of professionally authenticated double dies, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, clipped planchets, off-center strikes, and other genuine mint-made varieties that may have occurred during production. Finding one isn't common. That's exactly why the search continues. The bronze alloy itself also tells part of the story. After nearly 30 years, many 1996 2 pence coins have developed deep brown toning, while others still retain traces of their original copper-red color. Every scratch, every contact mark, and every worn high point reflects thousands of real transactions that took place across the United Kingdom. Yet collectors understand something many people never consider. Wear does not automatically reduce historical interest. Sometimes, a heavily circulated coin still becomes an exciting discovery simply because of an authenticated mint-made characteristic that survived decades of use. This is also why professional grading remains so important. An unusual feature should never be judged by appearance alone. Experts determine whether a characteristic truly originated during the minting process or resulted from damage long after the coin entered circulation. That careful authentication protects both collectors and the integrity of the hobby. It is equally important to remember that most circulated 1996 United Kingdom 2 pence coins are common circulation issues and are generally worth only their face value. Greater collector attention is typically reserved for professionally authenticated mint varieties, recognized mint errors, or exceptional high-grade examples with outstanding preservation.